So I came across David Wilcock for the first time in the early 2000s, okay? At that time, he was making these big claims to be the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, the famous clairvoyant. I was like, who the hell is that guy? I saw him a few times popping up in ancient alien documentaries, but I never really wanted to do a video about him, okay? Because the stuff that he claims and all this, it's so outlandish, it's so esoteric, it's so spiritual that I felt like, I mean, why does it need my input on this? However, in the recent weeks and months, and basically the whole past year, this man has attracted and caused so much drama, and it is currently evolving at a rate that I just have to put it in a video, because the story is so outlandish, from some of the stuff that he claims in his current live streams over to his war that he's got going on with Stephen Cambian, aka Truthseekers, all the way over to this company that he's involved in that allegedly currently is being sued. There's so much going on that I feel like I have to put all this in a video, talk you guys through it, because it's absolutely incredible. It is the most ridiculous thing I've seen in a very long time, okay? But let's start at the very beginning. I already mentioned that I came across him for the first time when he claimed to be the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. And if you use the Wayback Machine, you can find the website of David Wilcock from that time, from the late 1990s, early 2000s. I think he deleted all of this. It's not a good look, right? But the Wayback Machine never forgets anything. So I'll post the link down in the description. You can go back yourself and check out ascension2000.com, okay? Dedicated to the spontaneous evolution of the human species, now reaching its final threshold, okay? So this website is a real treasure trove. I want to put it this way, because it holds little gold nuggets and quotes like, for example, 1998 will bring many of the great awakenings that lead into the Aquarian age. This is being caused by the great cycle of the sun. This great solar cycle is in turn caused by the revolution of the sun through the various spheres of activity in the galaxy. Okay, so guys, 1998 is the year. Get ready for it. It's gonna bring massive change. Or lovely little nuggets of wisdom, like for example that we will all achieve the ability to fast forward and rewind linear time as though it was a video cassette, okay? We will all be able to do that. You just fast forward time. That'd be a mess, right? If everyone can do that, Jesus Christ. You will also achieve the ability to fly at will, to manipulate consciousness by thought alone. Okay, so these are just some of the claims that you can find on Ascension 2000. I recommend everyone to go there, have a read for yourself. There's also a video that I'm going to link down in the description by a YouTube user called Truth Be Told. Okay, and he breaks this whole website down in a lot of detail as well. Unfortunately, the whole video is just in mono, so one of your ears will be very bored if you listen to it. But it's a great video, okay? He's putting down a lot of detail. Great video. So these are the roots of David Wilcock. He's basically he started as a spiritual guru, I almost want to say. Then at some point he turned insider. That now he turned YouTuber. So there's a bit of a journey to this character that is David Wilcock. Many may know him from his show called Cosmic Disclosure. It was on Gaia, I believe. And before that, he had another show called Wisdom Teachings as well. But recently, he's shifted his focus. Okay, he's not doing the shows anymore. I don't know what the thought behind it is. But he's live streaming. He's live streaming a lot. And he does these very, very lengthy live streams. And he says a lot of things in those live streams. Okay. I want to give you just a few little examples of the things that David Wilcock talks about in his live stream. Here's an example where he talks about what happened to him during the COVID lockdowns and how it affected to him that he had to order takeaway all the time. Let's give it a listen.
During COVID, for whatever reason, I just said, you know what? I've lived my whole life. I've eaten really healthy. I've eaten really organic my whole life. I've never deviated from this. But during COVID, things are so crazy, and I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to wear any masks. I hardly ever did. I hardly ever went anywhere. I never left the house. So let's just get takeout. Let's just order takeout. You know, that'll be great. Let's just get takeout to the house. Order it to the house. You know, what could go wrong? Well, what started to go wrong was that after only really, I don't know, maybe 5 months of eating that restaurant food every day, or a lot of the time, I couldn't tie my shoes anymore. I couldn't frickin' tie my shoes. Now, what do you mean you couldn't tie your shoes? Well, I mean, in order to tie your shoes, you have to be able to bend over enough to reach your foot. So the only way that I would even have a chance of doing that was to sit in a chair. But as far as like standing and bending over, I couldn't get more than halfway down. And so it was like every part of my range of motion below about halfway down was completely locked up.
So he just couldn't tie his shoes anymore. Guys, you may have had problems during the lockdowns. Maybe you didn't have enough money. Maybe you lost your job. You were struggling with your mental health. David Wilcock, he just couldn't tie his shoes anymore because of all those takeaways. I mean, dude, what a problem to have. And he has other problems. Like, for example, his monthly income is not what it used to be. I think this is a problem with many, UFO personalities in the wider sense. I wouldn't call him just a UFO personality, but he certainly plays into that vein. So here is David Wilcock talking a little bit about his financial struggles recently. It's not looking that great. Let's give it a listen.
So, I do make about maybe 10 grand a month on this, but that includes all the super chats and all the ads and everything. So it's not really enough. It's just barely enough to survive. Anyway, what I made last year was $258,000. So that was my tax.
So hold on a second. He's making 10 grand a month. You and I both know living off 10 grand a month, that's not good. That's not, we can't really live. You and I, we both can't live off 10 grand a month. That's ridiculous. Nobody can. So it's a hard time for David Wilcock. But then he says last year he made $258,000. I would say that's slightly more. I mean, I'm not very good at math, but I would argue that's probably slightly more than 10 grand a month. So there's hope. There's hope that David Wilcock will survive and that he will have enough food on his plate. But I certainly sympathize with him only making 10 grand a month. Okay, that's ridiculous. That's nobody should live in that level of poverty. And you may say, why is 10 grand a month not enough, right? Surely you kind of at least somewhat could live off 10 grand a month. Well, it turns out, and this is very much allegedly, this has been shared by John Christian Stavattis. I hope I'm saying his name right. And this has been basically downloaded. It's a public document. It's publicly available on the Yavapai County's website. And it's a document issued by the Arizona Department of Revenue. And it alleges that he and his wife owe almost $60,000 in debt to Arizona, in tax debt, if I understand correctly. Let's take a brief look here. So the names are Haysbeth B. and Wilcock David. Down here it says the unpaid balance of assessment. So this is a notice of state tax lien, right? And the unpaid balance of assessment is $56,650 and a few cents dollars down here. It's got a letterhead up here. No, look, I personally can't check the authenticity of this particular document, so please take it with a pinch of salt. I'm going to put a huge allegedly next to it. I can't say this is definitely true or whatnot. Maybe the debt has been paid in the meantime. The document is listed to be from 2023, so it is a little bit older, but that would kind of make sense. Why, 10 grand a month is not really enough, because you need to pay off debt, or I don't know. Look, I'm speculating here. It's just the point that to me, someone saying I can't live off 10 grand a month and it's really not a lot of money that I'm making with all this is absurd. Okay, it's bizarre. So this could potentially explain what's going on. But that's not everything. There's much more. There's a company called Stavatti. Stavatti has a website like this. They describe themselves as an aircraft manufacturer focused on design and production of next-generation military, commercial, and general aviation aircraft. Now, if you look through the website, because people are saying David Wilcock is involved with this company, and obviously you can go here, you can click leadership, and you see a few of the people that are behind Stavatti, right? And I looked at it, I looked through it, and there are certainly some individuals in there, just from the looks of it. But there's a bunch of people behind this company, but there's no David Wilcock. At least on the website, there's no David Wilcock. So I was like, is this all like false information? Is this not true? So I dug a little bit deeper, and I found a PDF they put together to, advertise, promote their products to, potential investors and stuff. So there's this PDF, and notice also in all these documents, at least I couldn't find it, in all these documents on their website is not a single picture, a photograph of any of these aircraft. You find all these neat little renders here, okay, that show you all kinds of cool aircraft, right? Like the SM-27 Machete or the SM-39 Razor Air Dominance Fighter. Okay, lovely little aircraft down here, but no photos. So it made me wonder, like, what's going on here? Is this even a real company? Is Wilcock involved? Well, you can scroll down and you get a slightly bigger overview of the people who are behind the company. And guess what? Here he is listed. David Wilcock is the Director of Advanced Technology for this company. And he talks about this quite openly on his live streams. He mentions Stavatti regularly, and he himself responded to some of the people that talk about Stavatti online in his live streams, and he mentioned that there's a bit of drama going on, that there's like, there are questions around Stavatti and so on, but obviously he disarms a lot of it in his live streams. He's like, there's nothing behind it, and mentions that everything is in order and so on. But I had to look into it, okay? I had to. And it is actually remarkable, because if you look into it, it turns out that currently this company, Stavatti, and again, it's not his company, right? He is apparently, to an extent, part of this company. He's not like the main CEO of this company, but he is involved in it. And you find this lawsuit, which describes that a person called Dimitrov sues Stavatti Aerospace Limited over an alleged $1 million investment note, right? So this guy, this Dimitrov, is apparently, if I understand this correctly, and I'm not a legal person, please correct me down in the comments, okay, if I'm getting any of this wrong, but he's suing Stavatti because he invested $1 million into this company, hoping to get returns, but it didn't go as he hoped it would. So here it says, under the $1 million investment note, it says, on February 27th, 2022, plaintiff and Stavatti Aerospace executed a promissory note where plaintiff invested $1 million as an angel investor. It appears that defendant Christopher Beska signed the investment note through his capacity as chief executive officer of Stavatti Aerospace. However, the represented defendants contend that defendant Christopher Beska did not sign or authorize the investment note. Rather, defendant Brian Colvin forged the signature by using a fraudulent transfer from a blank form non-disclosure agreement. The investment note obligated Stavatti Aerospace to repay the principal of the loan by May 1st, 2022. Plaintiff claims Stavatti Aerospace never returned any of the capital investment by plaintiff and never provided plaintiff adequate assurances as to Stavatti's liquidity or intent to repay plaintiff under the terms of the investment note. From June to July 22, plaintiff engaged in various correspondences with defendant Brian Colvin and Rudy Chacon requesting payments to no avail. The represented defendants contend that, unbeknownst to them, defendant Brian Colvin communicated with plaintiff referring to himself as president of Stavatti Aerospace. And he perpetuated the deception that the 2-month maturity date had been acknowledged by the company and provided excuses and promises that were apparently intended to keep the unauthorized loan from scrutiny by the company. So it goes on. It's actually a pretty interesting and entertaining read, okay, to see how it seems like they're wiggling their way out of repaying this loan and so on. But if we can believe this tweet of John Christian Stavatti, again, I'm shredding the name, it basically says that Dimitrov is suing Stavatti for being a Ponzi scheme amongst these other things, allegedly. So the complaint for RICO violation, breach of the contract, fraud in the inducement, conversation, breach of covenant of good faith and fair dealing, breach of fiduciary duty, negligence, intentional misrepresentation, negligent misrepresentation, unjust enrichment, tortious interference with contract, and civil conspiracy. Jury trial is demanded. Okay, apparently this is a screen grab from that claim that Dimitrov is trying to make. So that's another element to this whole story. It's like, wait, this is not looking good. And again, I'm taking a lot of this out of little snippets from David Wilcock's podcasts where he addresses these things himself out of these legal documents that are publicly available online. And I'll link all of it down in the description. As I said, you can read up on it yourself. And people like John Christian Stavatti making these posts online where they actually dig through the documents and commenting on them and make more sense of them. So here, for example, John says as well, last week, David Wilcock claimed that Stavatti and the plaintiff in Dimitrov had come to some sort of understanding and were willing to forego further hostilities. Okay, so in this live stream, Wilcock was like, yeah, we've come to some kind of agreement, right? We're putting our challenges aside and there is a road forward. So again, Wilcock is addressing these legal issues himself on his stream. But then he continues to say, today, February 3rd, the plaintiffs filed a joint statement with the court. In this document, Stavatti gives their position on the pre-trial troubles they have had with Dimitrov. This is pretty solid evidence that Dimitrov and Stavatti have not settled their disputes, but clearly remain at odds. He shares that little outtake there from these documents where it reads, defendants experience that plaintiff has been very difficult to work with. It's regarding to scheduling and depositions as set forth by the counselor, blah, 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 and so on. Right, so again, Wilcock is like trying to disarm this. Like, it's fine. There's nothing really here. We're putting our differences aside. Well, these documents seem to speak a different language. So it's just wild, right? And you can imagine if something like this happens to a public person like David Wilcock, and it is all publicly available, these documents, of course people will dig through them. People will eat this stuff up, fire it back at him and be like, bro, what is this? How does that make sense? And he will have to answer all these questions. Now, just a few days ago, Stephen Cambian, and we're going to get to that in a second, okay, like that whole drama between David Wilcock and Stephen from Truthseekers, has shared this document as well as a little outtake from another document where he says the investor suing Stavatti Aerospace to get their money back says exactly what I've been saying. The company has not built or made a single airplane in 30 years of being in business. Okay, so he shares this document, says, yeah, for example, they don't build planes. I don't believe that they ever built one plane. There's a lot of things right now, but I mean, so it's whatever. Great way of saying this. I guess this is just a transcript of someone speaking. But so allegedly, again, I can't check whether it's true. Maybe they did build planes in the past, but allegedly, they never really built a plane. But they're a company that claimed to build planes. But all this is about to change, okay? Because just a few days ago, Wilcock has claimed that the company has a $2 billion business plan, and claiming that they will open a plant in India, China, the Middle East, the US, and Canada.
But you know what? I don't want anything to get in the way of us getting this deal done. We have a massive business plan. It's $2 billion. That's the biggest one that we've made, and we have 4 parties competing over who's going to get to fund it for us now. And we've basically come down to the fact that, okay, it's first come, first serve. Whoever wants to do this first will get it. And if the others still want to do it, there's other things we can do, because some of what's in that business plan is a phase 1 thing. But a big part of it is our SM920 airliner. I don't have any pictures of it. I don't have any models of it, but I have pictures I'm going to show you. It's an amazing breakthrough. Imagine an airliner that saves you 33% of the money on every flight. Think about these airlines and how they're changing the seats. They're making them tighter together. And, the aisle is really narrow. We're going to do a 30-inch wide aisle so you can get past the beverage cart. We're going to do bigger seats. We're going to do probably 19 inches instead of 17 inches. So you'll have more room. It's a lot quieter. It flies a lot longer, and it costs 33% less. That means...
First of all, why is he putting all this on his live stream? Like, it almost is like he's just feeding these trolls. And maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's intentionally addressing it because he knows, the drama to an extent is good for the business. It gets people talking, gets people like me to make a video about it, right? It gets the news out there. But here he is pitching this alleged investment of $2 billion, or this business plan he has of $2 billion, and how they're going to do it, and how they're going to build the planes, and how his plane is going to save them so much per mile. And it's like, wait, dude, all these companies like Boeing, and they never came up with this. They have so many bright engineers working on their planes, and over all those years, you're still way ahead of them. I'm just standing on the sidelines being slightly skeptical here, but, let him finish. Let the man finish.
That instead of the typical airline standard for like an Airbus A320 of doing 12 cents per passenger mile, per passenger per seat, 12 cents per passenger mile is about the best that the Airbus does. We've got it down to 8 cents per passenger mile. So there's no other way that they can make that kind of money, save that kind of money. So this is going to be a game-changing airliner. It's a non-military, peaceful technology. That's, as it turns out, that's what everybody's actually fighting over, is the airliner. So very, very exciting stuff going on. We're probably going to have a plant in India to make them. We might have another one in China. We might have another one in the Middle East. And we're definitely going to have one here in America. We might even also get one going in Canada, if Canada's open to it, probably after we get rid of Justin. I don't think he's ever going to let us do this, but you can't argue with the price.
So it's like, okay, we can't allegedly repay this guy's investment and stick to that contract or agreement that we had there, but now we have a $2 billion business plan, and we will open probably all these plants in India, in China, in the Middle East, in the United States, in Canada. Dude, it's going full steam ahead. Well, at the same time, rumors are circulating that Stavatti has been partially evicted. So again, this comes back to another post by John Okay, and please give him a follow. Okay, he's really documenting this pretty well. But here is a little like screen grab of a document where it basically says Town of Niagara against Stavatti Aerospace Limited in order of judgment of eviction and awarding petitioner immediate possession of property and granting the issuance of an eviction warrant. Okay, now again, I'm not a legal person. I don't know what this exactly means. Maybe they're just moving building and they're leaving. Like, I don't know what it is, but it certainly doesn't sound like a company that's just about to open a plant in India and China, the Middle East, the US, and probably also Canada. We're opening everyone. It's huge. We're getting huge. We have this plan for an aeroplane that is cheaper than anything Airbus or Boeing has ever done. Okay, it's better. It's cheaper. It's like, wait a second. Like, all my alarm bells are going off and I'm not even an investor. Okay, so it's all not great. From my external point of view, sitting here reading through all this, it's like, it's, more than dodgy. Let's put it this way. Now, there's a whole group of people out there online who seem to do not much else but just uncover these stories, dig through the legal documents, and put context to the story, the current drama going on around David Wilcock. And one of the spear figures of that movement is obviously Stephen Cambian. Now, there is, aka Truthseekers, right? Truthseekers on YouTube, give them a follow. Okay, they're doing a good job as well. It's like UFO debunking and debunking all these personalities around it. And I've been following this for a few months now. It is remarkable. It's really, really remarkable. Okay, what's going on there? And the first video that I saw where it really came to my attention is this one, posted in June 2024. Okay, this again, it's a little clip from David Wilcock's podcast where I don't know if this was the first time, it's the first time that I saw it, seemingly addresses Stephen by his name and threatens to sue him and all these other trolls. Okay, so again, June 16th, 2024. Presumably the live stream was a little bit before that, but that's when this was posted by a user called Macario. So let's take a listen.
Now that is a tongue twister. What do they mean by distortion leavings? It means initiation is a process whereby you have to come up against the things that you have created. People who have been trolling me, certain people who've been trolling me are soon going to be sued. And you'll probably know about it if you go looking for it, because they definitely deserve it. And that's going to be their initiation. They've done it for too long. We're simply not going to put up with it anymore. They said that I wasn't feeding the dog. They said that she was having very nasty tremors, which was not true. That I hadn't fed her, that I was starving her, that they were concerned about the dog, I said, look, I know who this is. It's this guy, Stephen. I've got an enormous amount of evidence. Let me send you the evidence, just a little bit, because we're going to have to sue him anyway. We're already working on that. He can't stop. He creates 40 identities a week, blah, blah, blah. We've been dealing with this for like 10 years. It's actually more like 7 years, as much as I can trace. So again...
so anyway, so again, here he is mentioning Stephen, and he mentions later Stephen from Canada. I don't know Stephen Cambian. And he never mentions his surname as well, right? That has to be mentioned. So I don't know if he's referring to Stephen Cambian. It would make a lot of sense because Stephen Cambian and Truthseekers puts out a lot of content about David Wilcock, but he never mentions him. So this was June, July last year. As far as I'm aware, I have not heard that Stephen Cambian has yet been sued by him, but I heard him mentioning it many, many times. So here's another video, and this one is really just a few days old, February 22nd this year. And here he keeps making even more allegations against Stephen Cambian. And it puts me in a position, look, I'm just looking at it from the outside, right? And this is all just like this infighting going on between these two characters that I have no idea about, really. But he makes claims in this video that would potentially give Stephen Cambian, or whoever he's referring to as Stephen, quite a bit of legal leadway to sue him, because if this stuff is not true, dude, man, these are wild claims. Let's listen what he has to say in this video. Again, this is 3 days old at the recording of this video. Let's check it out.
In the course of doing this work for you and for the Alliance, I get hit really, really hard. We have one guy who is basically attacking me full time. We have a team of 8 people now that we pay almost $2,000 a month, and I'm happy to do it. But if it wasn't for this one guy, we probably wouldn't even need them. But we will keep them in place afterwards, but I think there's going to be a lot less to do once we bring him to justice. We are going to be suing this guy. His name is Stephen. It's not Stephen Greer. It's not Stephen Tyler.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the name Stephen used to be a positive. And what happened is when I checked my bank account Wednesday morning, someone had tried to steal $4,000 from me. We have very strong, compelling reasons to believe that this is the work of Stephen once again. And I will tell you why. And I specifically had my dreams tell me I need to talk about this. I have decided I will not remain silent in the face of ongoing criminality. I checked my bank account on Wednesday, and it was freakishly low. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I saw 7 different transactions that were all trying to post from what it said on the statement. I'll show it to you. Was Internap Holding Atlanta, Georgia. Notice the spelling. Atlanta is spelled incorrectly as Atlanta. What the hell is Internap Holding? Well, obviously, a legitimate business would not misspell Atlanta. They would catch that and they would spell it properly. So if you want to look at this, I have a Chase bank account. This is what I saw. It freaked me out. It was horrific. They're stealing your money. They're stealing your donations, the love that you give me to try to keep this show on the air. The first one is 1207, 1,207.76, 1,205.32. Somebody tried to do this all in one day. Charge all this stuff to my account in one day. 1,046.03.
So he's even showing the bank statement here, and he's, giving the name on his bank statement who's allegedly stealing this money from his account and accusing this person called Stephen, who could it possibly be, of being the perpetrator here, right? It's like, most probably it was him. It's like, how would that work? I mean, I don't know the hacker abilities of Stephen Cambian or whatnot, right? But I have my doubts that he would be hacking into his bank account and transferring that much money all in one day from this account. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know, but these are pretty serious allegations against Stephen. And someone in the replies writes as well, ENAP in Georgia sells cloud-based computing services. I wonder if this buddy Chris charged some services to Wilcocks card. I'm sure that David is completely vulnerable, especially when considering that they run the Stavatti website without a firewall. Now, I don't know, is that true? I have no idea if this is true. And then Macario replies, this is what I thought. If you remember his text documents for the charity, there were crazy amounts spent on web hosting services and ESP. The numbers he spent each year. So I can see Wilcock signing up for something and then wanting the money back. Now, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is like a mistake from one of his internet services or whatever he signs up for. But it could be. It could also be a hacker. It could be Stephen. Who knows what it is, but him to come forward and say, most probably this has been Stephen. And, first of all, it feels completely paranoid to me, right? Like, this, to me, these transfers and the lists on his bank statement look like it's a company taking that money for whatever reason. And it might be fraudulent, right? It might be a mistake, but it does not look like a hacker stealing money from your account. But look, I don't know. This is just me reading into what I see here. But let's keep listening because it goes a bit further than this.
$4,000 getting ready to drop out of my account. And I ask you this question, how would you feel if this happened to you?
Not good.
Well, I can tell you that it was horrific, and so I got on the phone. I called Chase Fraud Prevention right away, and I was on the phone with them for 45 minutes while I was building these slides because I knew I was going to have to do the show on Saturday because I'm being attacked with wind, and now my bank account is being attacked. By the way, I never got the notification you're supposed to get, your credit card has been compromised, it's in a database. There was no database, so...
Right, and to me, that's another indicator that it's probably by the bank considered a legal transaction, right? Let's say, for example, he worked with this company in the past and they did take fees in a similar height, like around $1,000 or whatever it was, for internet services. Then you wouldn't get a dedicated notification, I'm assuming, right? Because those details, that company already took similar amounts in the past and it was perfectly fine. You don't get like a notification for each single transaction. But again, just me interpreting what he's saying here.
I hardly ever use this card on anything. So how did anybody get my card number? It suggests, again, the DS, as an inside job, leaked it to the person they've probably been paying to come after me. And now that the U.S., as I was calling it last week, the Z funding, and the rest of it is aid, right? You know what I'm talking about. Now that that's been cut off, maybe he doesn't have the money that he used to have, so he got more desperate. That's one of the reasons why I think it's him. and there's other reasons as well. So again, how would you feel?
Well, he's like, well, maybe he doesn't have the money that he used to have and he got more desperate. That's the reason why I think it's him. He says that he has other reasons, but that is not a good reason, bro. That's a lot of interpreting you're doing there as well, but yeah, okay.
If you wake up one morning and you're missing $4,000 in your available balance, but it's all listed as pending. So I got on the phone. I was on the phone for 45 minutes. They tell me, no, we can only seize it from when the theft first started. And during the time I was on the phone, she went back and found that this has been happening about $1,300 a month, every month except for October, since August. So August, September, November, December, January, I was losing $1,300 a month, and I wasn't paying enough attention. I definitely will be now. I'm going to be watching my account probably every day, looking at the transactions, because what the whole...
Sounds like a subscription to me, my man. I don't know. Could be something else, but, you know, I once had like a VPN subscribed and I forgot about it, and I paid obviously a small amount, like £10 a month or something every month, and I forgot about it for 1.5 years. And at some point I was like, wait a second, what is that transaction? I called them up and they refunded me half of it. But that's a thing that happens, right? You have monthly transactions for something, for a service you don't use anymore. Now, I'm not David Wilcock. If it would be $1,200 or pounds a month, I would certainly know about it. It's another indicator of his financial position that for so many months he didn't even notice it, right? So, you know, just putting that out there as a little disclaimer.
Whole game is you got to catch this stuff. And that's the way it is with Steven too. You got to catch him. I've had to hire 8 people to stop him from doing this stuff. He is an expert hacker. And if you haven't already heard this...
This is another great accusation here. He's an expert hacker. Maybe he is. I don't know. How do you know that? How do you know that Steven is an expert hacker?
Nobody's ever heard of anything like this before. He says that he's a critic. He says I'm a grifter, a con artist. How ironic that he is actually stealing your donation money. Part of why I think it's him is that he harassed and threatened the CEO of Stavatti Aerospace, Chris Beskar, left incriminating voicemails that we are keeping for our legal evidence on the exact same day that this $4,000 grift was attempted. So we do have his threatening voicemail. We're going to be using that in our lawsuit against him. He's scrambling to try to steal my money. We don't have any evidence he's been stealing money out of Stavatti, but somehow he got my card, which I hardly ever use. And
again, note he's stating it as a fact now, right? He just said he somehow got my card, which I hardly ever used. He somehow got this card. He's not saying it could be him now. He got the card, right? That is stating it as a fact. Maybe he has evidence that he's not putting out here, right? But to be honest, like looking at this, he's washing all his dirty laundry in these streams, it seems like. So might as well put out the actual evidence that he has that, like without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, indicates that Steven did this. I haven't seen any of that yet, besides, well, he might be a bit desperate. It could be him. You know what I mean? Like, this is giving actually Steven a lot of fodder, not just for his work that he does on YouTube to expose him, but also on a legal platform. You can literally go and say, dude, you just accused me of stealing $4,000 from you. You stated it basically as a fact, saying I got somehow your number, your card number. Again, I'm not a legal expert, but to me, that's, you know, he seems so bitter. Wilcock seems so angry and so bitter about all this. That's what is really shocking to me, because, I mean, every YouTuber, anyone who does anything in the public eye and reaches a certain size has critics, has trolls, has people who come back, expose them, leave comments, whatever. Dude, if you do this, you give them that level of fodder in your live streams, don't be surprised that you're basically being turned into a lol cow, more or less. That's what's currently happening. But yeah, let's keep watching.
And the last time that he called and threatened Chris was on a Friday. And so Friday morning, we got an email allegedly from India threatening us with bombs and explosives, saying we're going to die. He said, I want to kill David Wilcock. I want to blow him up. Now, I forget exactly the wording, but it said, I want to kill David Wilcock. Allegedly from India, out of nowhere. We've never heard of this guy before. And he's talking about Corey Good. I haven't done the show with Corey Good since 2018. Nobody talks about that anymore except for him. So on that morning of Friday, he says, I want to kill David Wilcock and Corey Good. And he's all pissed off at us. Wait a minute. The show's like 7 years old. Where have you been? Who is this guy? Is it really India? No, he's just pretending to be, because again, he's a hacker. So that's how it started. And then
So now I don't doubt that he got this phone call, right? But now he's putting Stephen behind that as well. There's a guy calling from India. He's like, it has to be Stephen. It is Stephen. He's behind. He's a hacker. You know, there's a lot of allegations going on here that are not alleged, or it could be, or I have the suspicion it could potentially be Stephen. You know what I mean? The wording he uses here.
Then on Saturday, Stavatti got an email claiming to be from Russia, saying that we were selling military products to Ukraine, which we were not, and then saying that Russia was going to blow us up with explosives, the same threat as the day before from India, allegedly from India. Says he's going to blow us up with explosives unless we pay him in cryptocurrency. So he was actually trying to extort money on a Saturday. And so Friday we have an explosive threat from India. Saturday we have an explosive death threat from Russia, which supposedly from Russia. Again, these are supposedly. And he's saying, oh, well, you have to pay me money, so I'll give you the names of the people who are going to do this so that you can bring them to justice. No, we're not going for that. In the middle of this 24-hour period between these two threats, Stephen called our CEO off of his own phone number. He disguised his name, but it was the same phone number, and again, threatened us. So now, here we go. We've got $4,000 being stolen out of my account by a hacker, somebody who hacked my credit card, and then Stephen calls Chris the same day and leaves threatening messages. So you see the formula. The death threat happened in the morning on Friday. He stalked him that same afternoon, and then he made the terror and extortion on Saturday. And again, he wanted to take money from us, which now makes me realize, he's been doing this since August. He was already stealing money, and he wanted more. It's been going on since last August. I was getting hit, as I said, every month for about $1,300. I didn't catch it, but I always kept running out of money. And again, it's just...
Right. So, Jesus Christ, man. First of all, I don't want anyone to get any threats, okay? No matter who's behind it, who did it, we're not threatening each other and threatening each other to blow each other up, okay? I don't want any of that. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. And to be honest, that should be prosecuted. If you call someone up or you leave messages like that, whoever is behind it, right, threatening to take someone else's life on the phone, that's messed up. Whether it's any, like, I don't care who it is, if it's David Wilcock or anyone. Like, that's not right. That's messed up, and it should be prosecuted. But nonetheless, did you see how he presented it here on these slides, right? He's like, on Friday he did this, on Saturday he did that, and then on Sunday he did terrorism. You know what I mean? It's not like, I have the suspicion. Again, maybe he does have evidence, like rock solid evidence, that this guy, Stephen Cambian, is behind all this, but I doubt it. Like, looking at this, I strongly doubt. It does not look like it to me, because again, he breaks it down into so much detail. Certainly he would say, here is undeniable evidence. For example, we know where he lives, we tracked his IP, it goes back to his house. Or if it's a guy from India calling, we were able to get a receipt from Fiverr.com that this guy, Stephen, hired a guy in India to make this phone call. Something like that, right? Where he's like, we have crystal clear evidence. He might have it. He didn't show it here. I doubt that he does, okay? But for someone who allegedly, seemingly does not have that level of evidence, he's making a lot of very bold accusations against Stephen here. Okay, I don't know. Like, the whole thing seems fishy to me, but yeah.
Clever thing where they experiment with $10, $200, $1,200 to see, will it get approved, will it go through, and then they keep doing it every month so that it looks like you are on some kind of a payment plan. So the bank didn't catch this, unfortunately, because again, it's below the level where it would really ping the ultimate fraud attacks. So again, there was 3 tranches above.
Okay, like he's repeating himself here. Now, here's the point. It could be that Stephen is behind it. Surely Stephen has a bunch of followers who are also on the David Wilcock hate train, and he is, talking to these people. But the point is this, as I briefly mentioned earlier, at this point, David Wilcock is basically a lol cow, okay? Along the lines of Boogie2988, along the lines of Chris Chan, along the lines of Wings of Redemption, and there's a countless amount of people. I made a dedicated video about lol cows. I'll link that down in the description as well. But like, he's not only trolled by Stephen Cambian at this point. I mean, look at all the people that we looked at in this video, right? All these Twitter accounts, they spend a lot of their time just digging through these. So it could be Stephen Cambian, it could be Stephen, whoever that is, but it could be one of these other trolls as well who just try to troll him. It's a lol cow phenomenon, right? Where a big group of people, or it doesn't even need to be a big group, but a group of people take fun out of trolling that particular guy, David Wilcock in this case, for whatever reason. Here's another example, right? Like Red Panda Koala, that's a big account. Many of his tweets get like millions of impressions. And here's David Wilcock, like mentioning him several times. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you guys, but check this out.
Which is, you know, this very strange name, to say the least. This is from the very inappropriately named Red Panda Koala. We'll get into what Red Panda is in a minute. And the Red Panda... What the hell is the Red Panda? Oh, okay. Nobody gets 2.1 million views. Something very suspect. Clearinghouse for the intelligence community, RPK, posted this story. They're getting massive numbers of views, which is probably because they're paying to tweak the algorithm. Here we go again. RPK. I don't want to keep saying it. Planting a narrative. I think the RPK post is a part of it. So let's get back to RPK for a minute, because they talked about this. Once again, we got the dreaded RPK.
So he's referencing him all the time. He hates him though, and he thinks he's like paid to post or paying to increase the reach of his posts and all that. It's just a pretty good Twitter account. I'm not going to lie. Red Panda Koala is pretty good. He's got like lots of quality clips from interviews and stuff. It's a good source of content for me as well. So I follow him for that reason. It's a great account, and I think that's why he gets that many impressions. But David Wilcock clearly can't comprehend that level of engagement. So extremely funny stuff. Currently, David Wilcock is descending fully into the lol cow role, and he's doing the exact wrong thing by spoon feeding all these people the drama on his live streams. He's addressing it. He's even naming them. He's been threatening to sue people for almost a year now, right? I remember the first clip where he threatened to sue them was like in June last year. Now we're in February the year after. He does claim he's got a whole team to look at this kind of stuff, and that's possible. I don't know where it's going to go, but it certainly is an incredible story. It's an incredible story. And the most funny part about all this, in my opinion, is that it has nothing to do with what David Wilcock actually claims to stand for, which is spiritual enlightenment, right? And all these kind of things that he puts on his own flag. None of that has anything to do with this. It's just drama at this point. He's just in a hurricane of drama that exponentially gets bigger and bigger by the day, it feels like. And I mean, sure, he can try to sue all these people over all these claims that he makes, but like, is that really realistic? To be honest with you, I doubt that he's watching this, but if he would, I would just advise him to just shut it all down, man. Just don't address it anymore. If you want to do a lawsuit, fair enough. Put your lawsuit out there, right? Like, sue these people for what they did. Solve it in front of the courts, but never, ever, ever address any of it in your live streams. Not the Stavatti lawsuit stuff, not the personal lawsuits and the drama against you. When someone steals money from your bank account, why do you talk about that on the stream? It's like, it's so personal, and make the content more about what you actually put in your own flag, right? What you stand for, like the spiritual enlightenment and all these stories, the esoteric side that I know David Wilcock for. Like, put that in the center of your streams. But that would just be my advice. And obviously that would, long or short, end the drama, right? If he just talks about that, it gets boring for all people like Stephen Cambian and so on, and they would at some point probably stop talking about him. But the drama is also good for clicks. It's good for engagement. It increases, obviously, Stephen's reach, and it also increases David Wilcock's reach. So I don't know to what extent he's doing all this willingly, and he's almost farming the drama to get engagement. I don't know. I don't want to speculate on that end. But it is an incredible story. There's so much going on, and I'm sure there's more to come. We're going to get more drama coming from specifically David Wilcock, but probably the whole Stephen Cambian and Truthseekers and David Wilcock triangle thing is also, it's going to intensify. That's what I'm trying to say here. So I might do a follow-up video in the future. Let's see where this goes. I'll keep you guys posted. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a long one, but if you enjoyed it, then smash the like button. I would greatly appreciate that. You can also subscribe to the channel, join our Discord. The link to that is in the description. I hope to see you there. And maybe, if you like video games, subscribe to my gaming channel. Please, we need subscribers. The link to that is in the description as well. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate your time. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye.